Flagship comes from the old days of large naval engagements. The largest, biggest, most powerful ship in a fleet with the admiral on board, and he gave direction and orders to everybody else in the fleet from that flagship. Every Fountaine Pajot that was designed and built during this era took its direction and orders from the Victorious 67. You can find the DNA of this boat in every vessel in the range. We've talked about what it means for a shipyard to build a flagship vessel. What we haven't talked about, though, is how those flagship vessels oftentimes define an era within a shipyard. Today we're on board a Victorious 67 named True Story. My name's Wiley Sharp with Catamaran Central, and I can't wait to take you through this boat and show you how it defined Fountaine Pajot during this era. She's 67 feet long and just a hair over 31 feet wide. She draws a little over 5 feet, making her not only a great sailing boat upwind, but shallow enough draft to get into even the skinniest waters in the Bahamas. She has 5 ensuite guest staterooms plus 2 crew cabins in the forepeaks. We've spent enough time over the years looking at catamarans where you guys know I love a good flybridge. For me, that's having good visibility, whether being the captain running the vessel or as a guest, just sitting back, relaxing, and taking in the sights, sounds, and smells of the Caribbean. The second thing I look for in a flybridge is protection from the elements. So having an oversized bimini top over the guest area of the flybridge, as well as over the captain's area at the helm, gives me the protection from the sun I'm looking for. Aft on the flybridge, we've got a large U-shaped settee. Right now, there's currently 2 life rafts stored up here, but there's also additional storage along the aft section under the bench seating. We've also got 2 tables, which are the perfect place to rest your book when you're taking a break from reading, or enjoy canapes or a sundowner at night. Moving forward from there, we've got a wet bar with storage as well as a sink, and then forward of that, a Dometic refrigerator. On the port side from there, we've got a nice day bed, which is the perfect place for the sun worshiper in the group. The third and arguably most important portion of any flybridge is just the ease of vessel operation. Not only is that how you keep everybody safe on board, but it's how you enjoy the sailing component. The working area of the flybridge on board True Story is literally as good as you're going to find on any catamaran in this class. So from a sail control standpoint, you can see that all of the lines are captive and run back here to these 4 oversized Antel 66 electric winches. Every winch on this boat is electric. The Traveler is also a powered Traveler, and just plenty of cam cleats here, making it a very manageable yacht. You can have the best deck and rigging plan in the world, but unless you have a good helm, all of that's useless. The helm on board True Story is really well set up for a single person to operate this entire vessel. Here on the helm, we've got the large Garmin touchscreen, tri-data, wind, and autopilot control. Just outboard of that, we have an electronic Volvo control, making this boat incredibly easy for close quarter maneuvering or docking. Now, visibility to that port quarter, though, is a little bit challenging. So having the integrated Garmin camera facing the port stern takes all of those concerns off the table for the captain. With great lounge spaces like we have on board True Story, it's often easy for the foredeck to play second fiddle to the flybridge we've already looked at and the cockpit we're going to go look at next. But there is a lot of stuff going on up here that's worth talking about. First and foremost, there's nothing more enjoyable than sitting out in these seats under sail when you have a pod of dolphins swimming by. It's truly a magical experience. So like I already mentioned, I love being up on the Flybridge in the shade, but for the sun worshipers like my wife, my cousins, a lot of the people I sail with, being up on the foredeck, hanging out in the sun, either on these large trampolines or these overstuffed beanbags, is where they want to enjoy their sailing experience. Something we just can't show you in these videos is how a boat feels underfoot. This boat, as I walk around on it, just feels clean. And it's kind of a weird way of describing it, but everything about it is just buttoned in. One thing that you'll see throughout this tour today is just how well maintained it is. And that's something you can obviously see on paper, but feeling it and experiencing it are two very different things. So we've already talked about how easy this boat is to sail with all the lines going back to the winches on the Flybridge. Let's talk about what's on the other side of those lines. So first and foremost, this boat's equipped with the factory bowsprit. Now that's not in use, but you could very easily add a Code Zero or spinnaker. Just after that, we've got the Genoa here on a roller furler. We've also got a jib sail, and then the mainsail is attached to an oversized double spreader rig. This boat is an incredibly nice, sea-kindly sailing vessel. Continuing aft, we have two crew quarters in the forepeaks, both with heads, showers, and air conditioning. Now the starboard side's currently being used as a workshop and for additional storage. Centerline aft of there, we have a large anchor locker with a 90-pound Delta, 330 feet of new chain, giving you peace of mind while sleeping at night. And outboard of that, we have two large cavernous lazarettes for storage. Let's go ahead and make our way back to the cockpit. First impressions on a boat are so important. And when I pulled up to True Story yesterday in the tender and saw this well-maintained Teak, it just dragged me into the space. And immediately upon stepping into the cockpit, all these very comfortable lounging spaces with the day beds aft, these U-shaped settees forward, this beautifully varnished table really made me feel at home from the moment I stepped on board. Now, probably the most unique thing about this cockpit, something you'll only find on a Fountaine Pajot, is this overwater aft daybed. And I think it's one of the nicest places to hang out, not just while sailing, but according to the crew, it's one of the places where family photos of every trip are taken from, as well as everyone's favorite place to lay out and watch the stars after a nice meal on board. This beautifully varnished cockpit table is where you start your day and finish your night while on board True Story. And it is just the focal point of the interior space of the cockpit. Right now we have 6 settings here on the table, but this boat can accommodate up to 10 guests and seat 10 at the table. Just forward of that in the cockpit, we have these 2 large settees with day beds just outboard of those. It takes 3 things for a boat to be successful in an environment like the Caribbean: redundancy, maintenance, and a good crew, all of which are found here on board True Story. Here on the port mechanical space, we have the Northern Lights generator, which was installed about 2 years ago, as well as a brand new Rainman water maker. We also have all the Victron inverters here in this mechanical space. Over on the starboard side, we have an Onan generator, the second Volvo D3 150 motor, as well as a brand new 70-gallon-per-hour water maker. The owner of this boat went with a tiller drive in lieu of a center console, often found in boats like this, but they did it for a reason. They're avid divers, and by not having a center console, they easily have room for 6 divers plus the dive master whenever they go out exploring the underwater world. Now that we've checked out all the exterior places, let's go find out where you get a reprieve from that Caribbean heat and where all the meals come from. So I always get asked the question, what's better, a galley up or a galley down? Here on True Story, it's a galley up, and this is a perfect opportunity to talk about some of the advantages of a galley up design. One of the advantages of a galley up over a galley down is it just gives you more space down in the hulls, which allows for more accommodations or better accommodations. So in the case of this boat, we're able to have a large owner's suite and still have 4 other guest cabins. Another advantage of a galley up is it really lets the guests experience the high level of cuisine that are prepared while out on a yacht charter. It's almost like watching a cooking show live. And then from a charter operation standpoint, a galley up really allows the chef to kind of pick up on how the guests are receiving the food, so she can adjust the menu to ensure the best ownership experience from a culinary standpoint or charter experience. So there's a few things in this galley that make it extremely functional for large group entertaining, be it for chartering or an owner with a large family. First and foremost, here on the aft end, we've got a full-size residential style refrigerator, freezer with filtered water and ice maker. Once we step into the large U-shaped galley, we've got tons of storage beneath the countertop, a dual basin sink, and just a lot of workspace for the chef. Now, after mealtime, cleaning those dishes can be taxing for the crew, so having a dishwasher is incredibly helpful. It's almost like having a fourth crew member on board the boat. With the 5-burner cooktop and all of this counter space, it is a great place for a chef to churn out nothing but the finest cuisine expected by even the most discerning owner. And one nice little feature is actually having this hood over the stove, something not often found in catamarans. We've also got ample storage on the outboard side that's really well arranged. And one little detail I like is I just love the use of mason jars in this aftermarket shelf. I don't know, there's something about it that just feels quite homey. I can't think of a better place to watch a live cooking show than this large U-shaped settee over on the port side. I picture Laura and I sitting here as the chef's making some fantastic creation that I'm going to use as inspiration to cook when I get home. We've got storage in the coffee table, storage underneath the settee, as well as more than ample storage on the outboard side. Continuing forward from here on the starboard side, we've got a nice settee, which is the perfect place to sit back and watch the chef prepare meals. And it's also well removed on the other side of the salon, still very much connected with the entire space. Outboard of that, we have an additional freezer with a coffee station above that, and just inboard of the coffee station, a high-low television. Here, all the way port forward in the salon, we've got the nav station, which has got a full Garmin touchscreen display. We've also got an autopilot control, as well as the nav bus multiplex system. And just behind where I'm standing here, we've got a generator control, chiller control, water maker control, as well as additional storage for items like chart book, binoculars, and whatever else the captain needs near the nav station. The layout of True Story is 5 ensuite guest cabins. On the starboard side, we have 3 nearly identical sized cabins, each with a queen size bed, ample hanging storage for your clothing, as well as drawers underneath the bed. One of the things I love about this layout is the fact that not only are all of the cabins very comfortable, very bright, open, and airy, but they're also dry heads. Making our way across the salon, going port forward, we get to the twins room, which has got 2 twin beds that can be filled to convert into a queen size bed. To me, this is perfect for an owner of this boat that has either young kids or grandkids. That way, everybody can have their own bed. Continuing aft from the twin room, we make our way into the owner's stateroom. To me, this boat really helped define an era in catamaran design. This is a kind of owner's stateroom that really shifted more towards luxury living, whereas prior to this generation of boats, it tended to be a little bit more rustic. This cabin's got more than adequate storage for either a week on board cruising around the Caribbean, or if you want to take it to the far-flung corners of the world. We were out sailing today in some rather shifty conditions where we were seeing anywhere from 25 to 7 knots of breeze in a very short interval. So we had one reef in the mainsail, we had the Genoa out, and in the puffs when we were hitting 25 knots of breeze, the boat really came alive and we were sailing along at 10 knots with ease. When the wind fell on us during those lulls between the puffs, we were still seeing 5-6 knots and 8-9 knots of breeze. On behalf of the crew and I just want to say thank you so much for coming on board True's story today. She's truly an exceptional yacht and really deserves the tag flagship vessel. If you have any questions on this boat, please leave a comment down below, shoot me an email, and as always, on behalf of Laura and myself, thank you so much for watching.